here's where we run into a trouble with this base model. It wants a confidence interval, okay? Now the 84s have it. It's called a prediction interval. So if your calculator has it, if you got an 83 or 84 and you want to check, does it have such an interval? Go to your test and look for interval. Look for prediction interval. Look for linreg prediction interval. Most of the calculators do not have it. What they will have is a beta interval, a slope interval. This one doesn't have any kind of linreg intervals, okay, because it is a very older model and it is a very base model. It costs the student $2 at a garage sale. So this one doesn't have it, but I will bring in the all-powerful 89 titanium for it because it does have it in there. And if you don't have it, don't panic. You just got to do it by hand. Watch those videos that I taught you how to do things by hand. It's not the end of the world to calculate a few things by hand. Oops, that's not what I want. I want to go to my stat/list menu, my editor. I want to go into the main menu. And this one has an interval menu. Bring it up where I can look at it a little bit easier. It is F7 for intervals. So for a hypothesis test, if you've got this calculator, you want to go into your F6 menu and bring up your linreg t-test. But I'm going to go to F7, and I'm going to go down to a linreg t interval. Okay, just a single linreg t interval. I'm selecting the list that I have my data stored. I name my list dependent x and y hat. Frequency is definitely 1. This calculator is very user-friendly. He asks you, do you want to store the regression equation to some place, like plot it basically, and no, I don't need to do that. And then it asks you, what kind of interval are you wanting? Do you want a slope interval or do you want a prediction interval? So I'm going to hit the sideways key, and actually I want a response variable. That's another name for it. A response variable interval. So I'll hit response, and then he brings up this next question, which says, what's your x value that you'd like? And I say, well, I want 4.0, please. Scroll down, he wants to know the confidence level. Well, it's 0.90. And that's all the information he needs from me, so I hit OK. Wait just a few minutes, and then bam, he's there. He has brought up the C interval. He also brings up the y hat. He says the y hat is 22.4107, which is what we got when we did it by hand and when we did it in our calculator. So he's on the ball, and he's written down an interval for us, so I'll just copy it. 14.51 to 30.31. So you'd want to say something very intelligent, you know, like based on the evidence, we are 90% confident that the true population response variable y lies in the interval 14.51 to 30.31 when x equals 4.0. Boop, there we go. So based on the evidence, we're 95% confident that the true population response variable y, whatever that word is, I guess it's partial pressure when breathing pure oxygen, lies in the interval 14.51 to 30.31 when x is 4.0. That's the interpretation you would use for that one. Use a 1% level of significance to test the claim that beta is greater than 0. I could bring back that little 83, but I'm going to go ahead and keep working. Whoops, I dropped it. With this 89 titanium. For those of you who have this one, if you've got a different model, just go to Stat, Test, bring up linreg t-test again. For those of you with this 89 titanium, here's what you do for a test. You go to F6, which is second F1. You're going to go to linreg t-test. Oop, there it is. It's number G, or sorry, H. No, A. I can't read this far away. It's A. Small print on these, isn't it? You're going to select what kind of symbol you want in your alternative, a greater than symbol. You're going to select none on that. You want to calculate your results. And then you're just ready to hit OK. It's going to bring up a p-value along with some other great things. Our p-value is the same as before, so everybody should be getting 0.01783. Is that what that says? 93. Oh, there's such little print on these guys. That's our p-value. Our p-value is greater than alpha. We're going to fail to reject. It's very close to alpha, so if we change that alpha, we would get a different decision. Based on the evidence, the population slope is not greater than 0 at alpha 0.01, which does not indicate a significant positive correlation. Now, your beta interval. This is the interval that if a grapher that's not a titanium has it in there, it will be this kind of interval, this beta interval, the slope interval. And it's usually called linreg t-int. And I know a lot of the 84s have it. So what you would go do is you would go to stat. Now this one doesn't have it, so I can't bring it up, which is sad. But you'd go to stat, over to test, and you'd find linreg t-interval. Okay? And you'd bring that up and you would enter in the information that it requires. And then of course you would want to, it's going to prompt you and you'd want to tell it where your lists are, which is in L1, L2. Let me make sure this one doesn't have an, I know that it doesn't, but I'm just so desperate to show you because it's so cool. Oh, I can't in that little base model. I need to get one of the mid-range models. Okay. But in this TI-89 titanium I can show you. And we can get the interval. So if you've got the interval, if you got it located, bring it up, practice with that, and you 89 titaniums do this with me here. We're going to go to F7. We're going to go back down to linreg t-int, which is number 7. And instead of response, we're now going to pick slope. Sea level, what are we doing? 95.95. And we're ready to hit enter. It's going to calculate for you, and then it'll bring up the interval right there. It says cint at the top. Let me bring it over towards me so I can actually read it because the print is very small. We get an interval 0.9563 to 14.4. And that's very close to the one that we got when we were doing it by hand as well. A little bit of difference due to rounding error. Remember, the calculator doesn't make rounding error. So, interpretation time based on the evidence. We are 95% confident that the true population slope lies in the interval 0.9563 to 14.4. Okay, so if you have those 84 pluses, you should have been able to at least get this interval, especially if it's a newer one, because they do have this interval in there. 83 pluses on the linreg intervals, you're out of luck. You got to do it by hand, but don't fret because a lot of times I'll give you that error of tolerance that you need, okay? Calculator can get everything else for you, so don't fret. That was just an example to help students who have the tools use them when they can and where they can use them, to explore where all they need their calculator to do everything for them and where all they're going to have to step it up and do it by hand. Okay, so hopefully that's helped cleared that up with linreg hypothesis testing and linreg confidence intervals. And like I said, sorry about the 84 pluses, I just don't have one. If you want to lend me one, I'll make you a video.